Welcome back to Everyman Prepping. How's everybody doing out there? And the people in San Bernardino Mountains, an area basically east of LA, and it's about 20 miles into the mountains of San Bernardino. Well, a lot of those people are having their own mini SHTF right now. They had a winter storm come through, tons of snow, and most people were not ready for it. Some people thought they were prepared for it. I'm sure some were well prepared and they're having a great time testing their preps, going through it, going to make upgrades, see what's going on. But as we go through an article here, we're going to go over some lessons learned. What did people do right? What did they do wrong? Things to jog your memory for, not just if a snowstorm hits in your area, but if it's an earthquake, flood, fire, hurricane, tornado, whatever it may be. Are you as prepared as you think you are? Maybe this will jog some of your memory so you can get prepared better, because a lot of these people are out there, we're waiting for the government to come help them. And the government is never going to be there when you need them. They're not going to be there on time. They might eventually show up, but you need to take care of you and your family yourself and be ready for that. So as we go through the video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And here we go. So this is out of the LA Times. It says, desperate mountain residents trapped by snow beg for help. And the sheriff says, we're coming. So yeah, most of these people, they're begging for help. Like I said, these are people in California in the hills. They probably didn't expect this much snow, but you prepare for the unexpected. You got to get ready for it. And like I said, they thought the government was going to be there to help them, and that's what they're relying on. But let's continue. Well, let me show you this first. So not that, this. We'll get to that. So this is where it is. This is San Bernardino right here. And let's get rid of this here. San Bernardino right here. And a lot of it happened around Lake Arrowhead over here. These are mountains. It's about 5,000 foot in elevation, not that high. But this is the area. The one guy we're going to talk about is from this crestline town right here. But, it's very close to San Bernardino. Look, LA is right over here. There's LA, big old LA. So, next to a giant 19 million people in LA. But, this little mountain ridge, they had a snowstorm. I imagine most of these people cruised into work in LA and San Bernardino. They just thought it was a great place to live, never would happen to them. But that's why you need to get prepared for that stuff. So going on back over here, let's go through some lessons learned as we go through this. So the snowstorm started last week. They got about 8 feet of snow in total, starting last week, up and through Monday, Tuesday of this week. Like I said, about 8 feet of snow. And like I said, most people not quite ready for that. So the destruction brought by the February storms and how those generated a severe amount of anxiety, frustration, and difficulty, especially to the victims and those who were actually trapped in their home. Check out the wording they're using. Victims. You're a victim. It's big victim mentality these days. Everyone wants to be a victim. You're not a victim. You didn't prepare. You weren't ready. You're not a victim. It's, you can be a victim of a crime, of a war, but I don't know if you're a victim of a snowstorm. I mean, Mother Nature's not picking on you, So anyway, get out of the victim mentality. Don't be a victim. Take care of yourself. That's the first thing I wanted to point out. All right, continue on here we got. It says, although residents in Lake Arrowhead may not see snowplows, this is from the sheriff, so although they may not see snowplows or other measures on the street, the county is working to help you. The government's here to help. So you may, basically, the county sheriff's saying, you might not see us do anything, but we're really doing stuff, which means they're not really doing anything. So, like I said, you got to help yourself. Lesson learned, always be prepared to help yourself first. Then we're going to talk about this Michael Bowen. He's in that Crestview area that I pointed out over here, this little Crestview right here in the mountains there. All right, so his name's Michael Bowen, and he grew up in Massachusetts. You think cold, he'd be ready for this, right? And he said he thought he could handle a California winter storm. I think a lot of people thought that. Oh, it's California. How bad could it ever be? Well, you got to prepare for the unknown. So you might think you're in a place where it never floods here. It's not going to happen. It never earthquakes here. Not going to happen. Well, you know what? Earthquakes are showing up in Oklahoma, Tennessee, odd places. Floods can happen anywhere if a dam breaks. Fires, anything catch on fire. Hurricanes are in a certain area. If you're in that, tornado alley and you're in an area that's never had one, doesn't mean it's not going to. Same with hurricanes, all that stuff. So he thought it'd never be that bad. And then he said he began to hear his roof creak under the stress of roughly 6 feet of snow. Okay, this is the first thing. You're in the mountains, snow's piling up, snow's heavy. yeah, your roof's going to collapse. And we're going to see evidence of that. Tons of people's roofs are collapsing because they didn't go up there to shovel the snow off. You think it'd be common sense. Heavy snow, snow's going to collapse your roof, get off there. So when he heard it creaking, did he do anything? No, he's just hoping it wouldn't crash. As I learned in the military, hope is not a method. You can't hope the water goes away. You can't hope the fire doesn't burn you down. You can't hope the EMP doesn't go off. Hope's not a method. So should this guy have gone on his roof and shoveled it? Yes. He should have prepared for that, had the stuff ready to do it. Same with his neighbors. Another lesson there. Have the tools and everything ready to go. We'll get more into that in a little bit. So, let's see. His house is 20 miles north of San Bernardino. He was surrounded by 8 to 10 feet of snow, and he finally caught a ride in his neighbor's 4x4 truck down the mountain. You see, he doesn't consider himself a disaster prepper, but he had 15 days worth of food. Well, I wouldn't consider you a disaster prepper either if you only had 15 days, didn't know you shouldn't shovel the snow, and didn't have a 4x4 even though you lived in a mountain town where maybe it gets 1 to 2 feet of snow a year. Maybe you should have some. So the gentleman that had the 4x4, he's more of your prepper. He's driving people up and down the road. He probably got out. He probably knows what to do. If you live in this area, talk to your neighbors. They'll live there. What should you do? What should you prepare for? And if you are a prepper and you know what to do, talk to your neighbors. Get them filled in. We'll talk more of that also. So he had 15 days of food. Not bad. Could last, but this is where it gets a little interesting here. So last week, his neighbor knocked on his door, worried because they smelled gas coming from their home and couldn't get to the shutoff valve under the mounds of snow. He invited his neighbor, a family of 4, their cat, their dog, to stay with him, and he shared his food. Okay, that's great, but he had 15 days of food for him, because he doesn't mention he has a family. So if you have 15 days for you, and then you just invited a neighbor in of 4, so if your 15 days of food is for one person, now there's 5 of you, now you have 3 days of food. All right, so think about that. It's great to help people out. That's what you want to do, but you need a plan for it. If you think you're bringing people in, you need to stockpile food for those people, because your 2 weeks of food supply just went to 3, and then you're Mad Max again. So not telling you not to share food. Everybody makes their own decision. Should he have done it? Should he just help them dig out and go back to their house? Whatever. But if you are going to do that and you think you're going to be one of those people that have a kind heart and you're going to share food, you better have food for other people as well. Otherwise, it's going to cut into your supplies. And your first job is to take care of yourself and your family. That's your main job. What else did we learn from this? These people couldn't get their shutoff valve to shut their gas off because they couldn't dig for it. What? They didn't have shovels? They didn't think about going out in the middle of the storm and clearing it off? I mean, you can't just sit and wait for stuff to happen and wait till it's over. You need to, as it's happening, if you can stop stuff from going bad, go out while the event's happening if it's safe. Shovel that thing out. Now, the other thing I don't understand is, I've been reading, there's lots of gas meters, failing, smelling, natural gas. I don't know if the weight of the snow is breaking the lines, if it's freezing the pipes, or I don't know what it is. Maybe if you know, put in a comment below why there's so much gas leaking going on during a blizzard. Makes no sense, but there was fires and everything and gas trouble. So I don't know why these people were smelling gas, and it happened in multiple instances, but have a way to shut off your gas. How many know where your gas meter is and has a wrench maybe tied to it, or you know to get a wrench, and your people in your family know how to shut off your gas? Could be something to do. Heck, do it today. Take the family out there, show them where their meter is, tie a wrench to it so they know how to shut it off. All right. He said a lot of people are panicking. Yes, I imagine if you didn't prepare, you would panic. And then they said residents are expressing growing anger over why officials have not been able to get to them. These are the people who want government to save them. All right, they didn't prepare, they don't have anything, and they're going to be last on the list. Okay, they're angry at the government for not saving them. Don't be those people. Don't be someone angry that someone's not saving you. They're not coming to save you. Save yourself. Okay, that's the big lesson in all this. As you can see, the sheriff, they're loading up MREs on a helicopter, and they're going to drop them in like it's a war zone and they're refugees, third world country. That's what they're going to do. Don't be the people fighting for the MRE. Do you want to be, now as a side note, I'm going to go on the side note, do you want to stay the gray man because you do have food and you want to make sure it lasts, you don't want someone to raid you, so are you in line to get an MRE or so? Yes, maybe you are. Maybe you do go out there and get them. Do you need them? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you do, take them. If you don't need them, maybe you store them and keep them, give them to a neighbor. But maybe you want to be that gray man. You want to stand in line, get some of those. And if you want to give those away to the people, then give those away. But, you don't want to be the fat kid on a starving island, basically, because everybody's going to come for you. All right, continuing on. The dire conditions have hampered emergency response with firefighters needing to use snowcats to shuttle crews in and out. Wednesday evening in Blue Jay, another town up there, firefighters had to dig through feet of snow to get to a hydrant at the scene of a structure fire that injured 2 people. So like I said, there's a lot of fires. I think it's people probably busted out some candles because they lost power and they wanted some light, or they have a lantern, or the chimney wasn't clean, they have a chimney fire. But you got to prepare and get ready for this. You got to have a way to put out the fire yourself. Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you have a water source? Like I said before, fire blankets. Have you done the maintenance on your fireplace and your chimney so it doesn't catch on fire? If you're using candles, you got to be careful. Or oil lamps, and you have pets and dogs, make sure they don't knock them down. They're up high. All that stuff. Carbon monoxide detectors and fire extinguishers. Got to do that so your house doesn't burn down and you have a worse catastrophe on your hands. Continue on down here. This gentleman says, our backs are broken. Everything aches. And most of this work is in vain because you're just shoveling the same thing. And then whatever help is coming now should have been here days ago. We're angry. These people are angry. They should be angry at themselves. They shouldn't be angry at the government. They shouldn't be angry at, neighbors, whoever. They should be angry at themselves. The other thing is, our backs are broken. Everything aches. What's that? Be in shape. If you're not in shape, we got to get in shape. Exercise. Do something. Imagine shoveling all that snow and you're out of shape. What if you have a heart attack? Especially if you've done that. You got to, start getting in shape for this happens. You don't want to be like these people, be broken down, a mess of sore muscles when you need to keep working. So that's your hint, to stay in shape. Let's see, this lady says, I've been in my house for 8 days. That, for anybody who's a prepper and who has a prepper pantry and just stocks food, that shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to stay 8 days in your house without going anywhere and not die. That shouldn't be too much to ask, right? So these people complain. So, that's the mentality that's out there right now. This lady said, we have plenty of food. That's great. They have plenty of food. But if we lose power, the food is going to go bad. All right. I just want you to think about that for a minute. They're in the mountains, covered in snow. It's cold outside. You know what that is? That's a natural refrigerator and freezer outside. They're not even thinking about that. Your food's not going to go bad. Put it outside. These are the mental things you got to think about. If I lose power and it's cold out, well, I can just throw my food outside. It's like a refrigerator out there. Or maybe, what the heck, go crazy. Get a backup source. I have solar, already charged up. I have, a generator ready to go. Think outside the box. You just don't close down your mind. This person should have thought, I can just put my food outside. It'll be fine. And if it warms up a little bit during the day, put it in the shade. At night, it's going to get cold again. And then if you have meats and they're thawed out, you know what? Better start canning it, drying it, whatever you can do. But just don't say, oh, my food's going to go bad. All right, then they talk about they had a restaurant, and they're generous people. They've been fixing up meals and drinks for people that wanted to buy, people that walked to town that didn't have food. That's great. Very generous of them. They had a worker go to the restaurant and got snowed in. So he's got plenty of food in there. If he runs out of power, he won't be able to cook it all, but he just say, this is real, and it's scary. I just don't think people realize how bad it was. This is catastrophic up here. So that's, they're having a catastrophe up there, and mostly because a lot of them, I don't think, prepared for it and got ready. So that's about, the article goes on for a little bit longer, but that's the one to hit on, is most of those points. And I have a few other ones, just to make sure we'll go through a summary here of what we learned, based on this little instance, and what you can plan for yourself. Also, I guess I'll show you this. These are a roof that caved in. I don't think YouTube will get me in trouble for showing something else, but we'll show a little bit. So their roof caved in because they didn't shovel it. That's the inside of their house. Don't be those people. If it's flooding, get sandbags. Divert the water away from your house so it doesn't flood if you can. If there's fire, clear out the trees around your house so your house doesn't burn down. Whatever natural instance, think about what could happen. Think outside the box. Think of what couldn't happen. Plan for what couldn't happen, because it might happen. These people didn't think it would happen. All right, here we go. Looking at this, their roof caved in, obviously, because they didn't shovel the snow. You don't want to be those people. We got the firefighters here saying, that sucks that happened to you, but you can see how much snow is out there. Firefighters trying to help. And you can kind of see what's going on here a little bit. And, you're not staying in there anymore. You're not living in that house right now. There's their bedroom. Boom. Did someone get hurt? Hopefully not. But, if you would have shoveled that snow off there, you would have been fine. So, fine. So, think outside the box. Think what might happen, what might not happen, what could happen, and plan for that. You don't want to be one of those people that are angry at the government because they didn't help you because you didn't prepare accordingly. So let me just go through my list here, make sure we have everything, the lessons learned from this. We have food. Make sure you have enough. If you're going to share it, plan for sharing it and how much you're going to share. If they're giving away food, are you going to be the gray man, stand in line and get it because you need it? If you don't need it, you're going to save it for later. Or you're going to get it and then hand it out yourself to neighbors later on, but you're the gray man so everybody doesn't know that you have a ton of food saved. Everybody has to make their own decision on that, but walk through it in your mind of what you would do. Have a backup source for heat. You have a wood stove. Do you have something to heat yourself? Have backup power. We talked about that. Have the right tools. A lot of these people sound like they didn't have snow shovels. They couldn't shovel the roof. They couldn't find their their gas meter to shut it off. Make sure you have, wrenches, tools, gloves, sandbags, firefighting equipment, plywood for windows, screws, whatever natural disaster might hit your area. Make sure you have the stuff for that. Even if you're like, oh, that only happens once every 100 or 500 years. Well, that stuff's happening more often these days. Those once in a 100-year events are like once every year these days. So plan for that. Don't have the government will save us attitude because the government might not save you. They might save some people, but it might take them a week or two. You're in charge of saving yourself and your family. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Last point I want to talk about is the get in shape. This was a lot of physical activity for these people. You don't want to be out there having a heart attack. So do whatever you can. Walk if you can walk. Run if you can run. Lift weights. You don't have to do that. If you just work in your yard and you're a gardener and working in your yard and for either the gardening or your animals, livestock, building, remodeling, that's a workout itself. But move around, do something. You don't want to be caught out of shape. If something happens, you need to use a lot of energy and you're broken down and you can't do anything. So in the comments below, write down, what you've been preparing for. Do you think you're over-prepared, under-prepared? Does this video help out? Jog your memory. That's what I'm hoping this video does. It jogs your memory like, what? I didn't think about this or that. I need to improve in this area. I need to think about, what if something happens that I didn't prepare for? Things like that. Just write in the comments below any suggestions you have for people, what you think about the people in San Bernardino, all that stuff. And, take time in the next few days, do an assessment of your preparations and the events you're preparing for. And, just make sure you take care of yourself first and your family because the government is not coming for you. Until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.